and welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of Thursday, August 13th, 2026. At this time, I'm going to call upon everyone in the audience and my board members to stand so we can pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd ask that you all remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our soldiers past and present, and especially those that are in harm's way in the Middle East. Thank you. All right, I have a couple of announcements that I'm required to make. First is this meeting is being recorded by Dartmouth Community Media, and our next scheduled meeting is, it's not on the agenda. Should I announce that? Or is it still up in the air?
Well, I'm going to say September 17th.
Okay, September 17th, or was it 13th?
No, we had it on the 14th, but it's a select board meeting that night.
Okay, so now
We
it's-
have to go into 3.
So the 17th is a Thursday?
Thursday, we had our
Okay.
schedule.
So at this point, our next regular scheduled meeting is on September 17th at 5 PM here in this building.
That'll be, we'll figure that out.
Yes, but as to exactly what time, then the exact time we'll be providing further information. Thank you. The first matter, moving on to the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting, the first matter we have is variance ZAV 26-3, and this was a previously continued case. It's been continued from July 30th, 2026. It's actually been continued a few times prior to that, gentlemen. I'm not going to read it into the record because I think you know which one this is. This is 367 Old Westport Road. We received an email from the petitioner, and they're indicating that they're still having, and they're asking for another continuation because they still haven't been able to get a hold of John, who's the registered land surveyor, that they need to engage in order to make some changes that I believe that may have been suggested by this board that might make their petition a little bit easier for approval or for consideration, I should say. So as long as there are no objections to that, Attorney Farry, you have any objections?
No, I have none.
I'll entertain a motion, gentlemen. Oh, excuse me one second before we do that. Did they sign the requisite continuation form to ensure that the shot clock doesn't go? All right,
This is going to the 17th?
September 17th.
at 5 o'clock.
I make a motion that we continue variance ZAV 26-3 to September 17th at 5 o'clock.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Moving on to the next matter, it's variance case ZAV 26-5, and that was continued from July 30th. The petitioner in that case is John Williams. The owner is Richard and Jacqueline Crosby. The property is located at 44 Russell's Mills Road, known as MAP 125, Lot 59. It's located in the Single Residence B District. We've previously waived the reading of the abutters list, but the matter was legally advertised on July 9th and July 15th of this year. I've already read the denial letter from the building commissioner into what was required for relief. And just as a refresher for the audience at home and also here, the petitioner is seeking a variance to subdivide the existing lot into 2 new non-conforming lots so that there's only one dwelling house on each lot. Once subdivided, neither lot will have sufficient frontage, lot area, or meet the setback required in Single Residence B. They're seeking relief for, and basically saying that Lot 1 will have 34,051 square feet of uplands. It'll be 90 feet of frontage and 57.27 feet to the street. And I guess existing is 6.4, so they're looking for that relief. Lot 2 is also the same square footage, but that lot has 100 foot of frontage, and it's 64.6 feet, 6 feet to the street. There's an 18-foot sideline setback. And there's the statutory, or the bylaws in which they're seeking relief. This is one that came before us. I think that we had reached some sort of an understanding as to what had transpired here, historically what happened. Clearly, it wasn't a situation where they built something without a permit. They've got a sewer tie-in for that additional residence. That I recall that. Also, it appears to me that there was a building permit that was applied for, but it was very limited as to what may have been granted. But at this point, I'm going to call upon the petitioner's representative, Mr. John Williams, because I think we had instructed him to put together a proposed decision, if you will, for us to consider, with some findings and some analysis. Now, before you go there, Mr. Williams, and I ask you to come forward, but I just want to run something by my board. I don't know if you've received, I received yesterday and via email that there has been a change to 40A, and it's pretty substantive. And under 40A, they have now changed some of the requirements where there had to be a substantial hardship, and that's no longer the test. It's now a balancing test. I haven't had enough time to actually review the law on this to see whether or not, in my opinion, I'm not convinced whether it just changes one prong of the analysis, because I've always sensed that there's a four-prong test in order to satisfy the requirements of a variance. I don't know if there's only a change to one prong or if that's the entire analysis moving forward. So at this point, I don't feel comfortable making a decision one way or another. But I do know that when we considered the petition for 484 Russell's Mills Road, we had in mind, at the very least, we had in mind the analysis that we've known for decades now of 40A.
More stringent.
Which is much more stringent and much more difficult to satisfy. And in my opinion, I think they've satisfied it, but I only speak for myself. So I think it's always, I think if we're going to err, we're erring on the side of caution and requiring them to undergo the greater standard. Now, if we don't vote in the affirmative, then I think we have to reconsider our position as to whether or not we're going to apply the old analysis or we're going to table it and then look at how we apply the new standard that's required under the statute. That make sense, gentlemen?
Does to me.
William? Yeah. Attorney Faria?
I don't have a problem with that.
All right. Do you have an objection to that, Mr. Williams?
No.
Okay.
No, but on the 30th, there was a decision, and I have a copy of it. It says it was a unanimous decision of the Board of Appeals to grant the requested variance to subdivide the existing lot into two new non-conforming lots, so there's only one dwelling on each lot. And at that time, you were using the most stringent standard. And if the new standard is less stringent, I don't see how, I think it's a benefit for us.
I'm not certain. Did we actually vote on it at the last hearing? I don't think we voted on it.
That was just a draft.
Oh, I got it right here. It says decision.
Yeah, that might have been a draft of what might have been put together.
Waiting
But-
waiting for a set of findings for you to justify it. And that's what I
We
did.
voted on
No,
it without
it
the
would be-
findings. We wouldn't have voted on it.
No, we would vote tonight. I don't think we would.
I don't think we did, but I
If we
could be
did.
wrong, but I'll just.
We never
Gentlemen,
voted.
We didn't
We never
vote.
voted.
Okay. But I think we could still proceed forward. If we get to a point where there's going to be any hiccup on this, we can always confront you. You can interject at that point in time. Fair enough?
Okay. Fair
All right,
enough.
so we've been put forth with a proposed, with some proposed findings and also some analysis. So I'm going to read it. I haven't reviewed this as of yet, but it's only proposed. So we'll review it, then we can always make changes. The subject property is located at 44 Russell's Mills Road, Dartmouth, and is also known as map 125, lot 59 on Town of Dartmouth Assessors Map. The property is located in the Single Residence B District and measures 68,102 square feet, where 64,000 square feet is required for a single-family residence. The property is a lot with frontage on Russell's Mills Road, where 200 foot of frontage is the minimum required in a Single Residence B District. Now, let's go back to number 2. Is the minimum square footage 64,000 or is it 80,000? I thought Residence B was
64 is
80,000.
not, yeah, I'm not sure on this.
I think it's
I was
80.
gonna say something about that. yeah.
I got it off the Dartmouth zoning regs, so, but,
I've always thought single residence B is 40,000 and single residence A is 40,000 with 150 foot of frontage. Single residence B is 200 feet of frontage and 80,000 square feet. So, not a big deal.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Not a big deal.
that's better for us.
The property is a lot with frontage on Russell's Mills Road where 200 feet of frontage is the minimum required in the single residence B district.
That's right.
The property has been owned by Richard S. Crosby and Jacqueline T. Crosby since 1996 and has been in their family since 1780. I think that's a long time. Currently, there are 2 single-family structures on the property. The owner of the property is proposing to subdivide the existing lot into 2 non-conforming lots so that there's only one dwelling house on each lot. The petitioner is seeking a variance per Article 375-10.4 G5 to install a new driveway 52.5 feet from an intersection of streets where 55 feet is required.
Wait a minute, was that,
Was that something that he
no,
sought
that's
relief
from a
from?
different case, I thought. Was that the 52.5, was that from Bliss?
Is that what that was from?
I
Yeah,
think so.
I didn't hear that one. There's no relief here for a driveway, is there?
No.
No, they have a common entrance for
Well,
both.
it's just
Same
that-
one that they use for either house.
I understand that, but the thing is, you're putting here that there's a variance required for the driveway. That's not accurate.
That was
So we're going to
Bliss.
change that. we're gonna put here next. The board finds that the requested relief is minor and reasonable, and the two dwellings do not deviate from their present location. Well, I don't like, I won't put that in there. 9, we don't use the word minor, but there are no changes to the existing two-family structures on the property, true. And then it says, the board finds that subdividing an existing lot into 2 lots is not more detrimental to the neighborhood and would be in harmony with the general purpose intent of the zoning bylaw.
Yeah.
That's fine, but that's not the test. Now,
It's a
48,
finding,
section 10, it is a finding, and I agree with that. The 2 structures already exist. There are circumstances related to soil, shape, and topography that especially affect the subject property that do not generally affect the zoning district in which the structure or land is located. The existing two-family dwellings will remain as shown on the plan, and the footprints of the existing dwellings will remain the same. All right? Number 2, a little enforcement of the provisions of the bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner. A little enforcement of the provisions of the bylaw would involve substantial financial hardship to the petitioner. I don't know, we gotta find something. We'll just leave that a
Trying to
question mark for now.
remortgage and all that.
Yeah,
If I can interject, I mean, the 2 houses have been on there since the 60s, and they would have been, they would have met the requirements of the Sitco case. It was just a couple of years difference. They,
I get that. 'Cause zoning was only implemented sometime, I think it's 1953 in the town of Dartmouth. It was sometime in the summer of 53. I believe, if I remember correctly, the permit or the other home was built in 66, if I remember
I
correctly.
think it was a little earlier than that, but it was close.
But it was
It
mid-sixties.
was close, but you know what? So Mr. Crosby, who's seated here, his father was the one that took out the permit. There's a set of building plans the building department has in the file. Obviously, it's a house right on Russell's Mills Road. If you're constructing a new house, I would assume that at some point in time, the building inspector drove by and said, is this guy legal putting up a house? And no one stopped him, and they built a house back then. And it's, you know, they've been there for a long period of time. So when it says a literal enforcement of the bylaw would cause substantial financial hardship, it definitely would. I mean, there's 2 dwellings there, been there for a long period of time. So we're just trying to make it legal. So
But I also have to make it meet the standards under the
Yep,
statute.
I understand.
And we try not to just recite what the element is. So I'm going to try this just for now, and obviously I defer to my members. A literal enforcement of the provisions of the bylaw would impede the owner's ability to convey or finance the dwelling separately. Does that make sense, gentlemen? If there's anything else you'd like to add to, we can always do so.
That's fine.
3, describe, desirable relief may be granted without detriment to the public good. The requested relief is reasonable as the property presently has 2 dwellings on it. Both are legal pre-existing non-conforming structures and have existed for over 10 years under Chapter 48, Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 7. All right?
So, Mr. Chairman, if the building department said they will give a building permit to finish it, but that doesn't solve the problem. So, like I said, they're pre-existing uses that have been basically grandfathered in. They can't force them to take a structure down.
I have a pretty good understanding of this case because we don't typically, I have a very good understanding of this case because this is very unique.
It is unique.
This is I don't think we've done one we've not done one like this, at least my tenure here for about 12 years. But it wasn't like this where the structure was in existence.
There was 2 houses on, a cottage on.
Which one was it?
Oh,
Nokachoke, Lake Nokachoke up there. Yeah, we brought that off of Reed Road.
Right.
Okay.
I think, yeah, desirable relief may be granted. There's no change to the density, or, you know, there's 2 houses, remain 2 houses. So there's, you know, we can say that there'll be no changes to the,
And the town allowed them to construct that dwelling.
Yeah,
And,
you're
you know, to try to make them take it down now is not right.
we're not taking
We're not
them down.
asking for that. No.
Would involve
No
substantial
change
hardship, financial otherwise,
to the existing structures.
with potential.
All right, then it says here, the variance will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent or purpose of the bylaw. The property is located in a single residence B district, and the proposed approval of a subdivision plan will not derogate from the intent of the current bylaw. The requested relief is reasonable and addresses site-specific constraints. Granting of the requested variance will not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent or purpose of the bylaw. All right. Gentlemen, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, just the first one, I'm not sure. I need to look at something.
In number two,
Number 2.
not the literal enforcement,
Yep.
I'm suggesting you put something in there that says that there's potential for inability to use the dwelling house.
Okay. What, as it
This is
exists?
not allowed.
Say that again?
But that there's, the hardship to the owner is the potential for his inability to use the dwelling house for the family. That would be a hardship.
Ability to utilize.
And
What's that
Mr.
address on that other one that's not constructed? What's the address on that one?
Say that again?
What's the address on the one that's not been fully constructed?
That,
486?
yeah,
Or the first one is
yeah, 44 is the old,
488.
488, yeah, yeah.
38. All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
No, nothing additional.
We have the usual requirements. You gotta get all necessary building permits from all of the town boards and all of that.
And one of the requirements from the Board of Health was that one of the old house is on a septic, was to connect up to town sewer.
Okay.
And Mr. Crosby has already got a permit, it's in the window, and he's contracted to have that put in, immediately.
And that's for 488, right?
Yeah.
488 is on septic?
Yeah. And I would think if that house was built in 1780, it probably needs a new septic.
It already has town water, right?
Right, and,
Yeah.
Both have town water, yep.
We make that a condition. All right. There's nothing else, gentlemen. Oh, the public hearing still, we didn't close the
yeah, we
public
don't
hearing
close
on
the
it.
public hearing, yeah?
So is there anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak either in favor or in opposition to this request? This is for 484 and 488 Russell's Mills Road. All right. I can report to the viewers at home, there are probably about 20 people in the audience, and no one has come forward either in support or in opposition. So knowing that, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing for variance ZAV 26-5.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Look good at me.
Sure.
I make a motion that we approve variant ZAV-26-5 with the stated findings and conditions previously read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Good luck. Thank you. All right, moving on. Next is special permit ZSP 26-3.
Oh, yeah.
The petitioner in this case is Eli Powell. The owner is Pamela Spatz. The subject property is located at 54 Barney's Joy Road. It's also known as map 77, lot 69. Property is located in the single residence B district, and it was legally advertised on July 23rd and July 30th of this year.
I make a motion that we waive the reading of the butters list.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. For our viewers at home or anyone in the audience, if you'd like to see the abutters list, it's actually with the secretary of our office, Ms. Michelle Vieira, if you'd like to view it. In this particular case, the special permit is required because the petitioner is seeking to demolish an existing garage with an office on the second floor and rebuilding in a similar footprint a new garage with a bathroom and sauna. A special permit is required to bring water to an accessory structure under section 375-8.31-2. And we know that the property is located in the single residence B district. All right, so having read that into the record, I need to now read the letter from, denial letter from our building inspector. This is a letter dated July 7th to Eli Powell, and it's regarding 54 Barney's Joy Road. And it says, "I've reviewed your application, and at this time, your proposal cannot be approved due to noncompliance with current zoning regulations. Applicant proposing demolition of existing garage with office on second floor and rebuilding in a similar footprint, a new garage with a bathroom and sauna. Special permit is required to bring water to an accessory structure. Your application is being denied under the following sections of the zoning bylaw, and that's 375-8.3B. It basically holds that an accessory building or structure within which a kitchen, wet bar, bathroom, or any plumbing is installed, such as but not limited to cabanas, garages, or studios, such an accessory use is allowed by special permit granted by the Board of Appeals if the following requirements are met. And the Board of Appeals must determine that the accessory building or structure will not be used as an additional residential unit on the property, and the Board of Appeals shall determine through a review of submitted building plans that the nature of the proposed plumbing, wiring, or other utilities is not proposed in such a manner so that the accessory building or structure could be used or converted into an additional residential unit." We've done these before. All right, gentlemen. So at this time, I'm going to call upon the petitioner or their representative to come forward and state your case.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
there's more to read.
Oh, there is more to read, okay. So we've got a comment from the Board of Health. It says here, "As our office has commented, we are just waiting on the recorded grant of restrictive covenant and that states that the facility is a 4-bedroom per the approved septic design from 1995. Once we have this recorded document, all requirements will be satisfied and our office will be able to release our hold. Thank you." Conservation, in accordance with the wetland site inspection, A1 performed in March of 2026, the proposed work it says, "work in within the 100-foot buffer zone to a wetland resource area, and the applicant's contract has filed," okay, so it must mean the work is within the 100-foot buffer zone to a wetland resource area, and the applicant's contract has filed a RDA permit application with Conservation, which is slated to be heard on August 4th, Concom hearing. All right, then we got Jennifer Miller. That was from Jennifer Miller. Then we've got DPW. DPW has the usual restrictions, nothing, the usual conditions that they impose. All right. Pretty much it. So I guess at this time, I'll call upon the petitioner or their representative to come forward and state the case.
Sure. Good evening. The homeowners would like to, the garage is old and,
I'm sorry, just before we start, it's a matter of procedure for us.
Sure.
I need your name and your address.
yes, my name is Eli Powell and my address is 8 Riverview Avenue, Dartmouth.
And you're here on behalf of the petitioner?
I am here on behalf of the petitioner. I am their general contractor for the project.
So continue.
The existing building is in a state of disrepair, and we have proposed to take the existing building down, put up a very similar structure with just an additional, a small addition on the back of it, on a similar footprint, just a little bit larger, and add a bathroom to the second floor of it. According to the plans, and I've reiterated to the building department and the health department that the intended use for the building is just a workout area, workshop, and office space.
All right. Is there any of the board members have any questions?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair, I haven't looked at the plans yet.
Attorney Human?
As I look at the plans, it's going to be 2 levels?
Yes, sir. There's a garage space to be utilized as a garage and a sauna on the first floor, as well as a workout space and office space with the bathroom on the second floor.
All right.
The existing garage is also 2 floors with an office space above it.
So on the first level, behind the garage, there'll be a sauna and another bathroom?
It's just essentially a wet room to shower once you've left the sauna.
And then on the second floor, there'll be, looks like a full kitchen.
The kitchen was nixed from the plans, and it's not a full kitchen. That just shows basically a slop sink to fill a water bottle or something like that, and a bathroom behind it.
Okay.
All right, so just for clarification, you do understand that one of the requirements that we are, you know, we are forced to find is that we have to look at the plan, and we have to ensure that the proposed structure cannot be easily or readily converted into a residential apartment. And my brother here quickly and astutely pointed out that it looks like, you know, that's the beginnings of a kitchen. So we're always concerned that we're creating apartments. But,
Where's
you
the
know.
site plan? But what's with the ADUs? I mean,
Well,
don't
that's
they
the-
have like
but the thing is,
by
but that's not
now?
what they're coming for. They didn't propose this as an ADU, so we have to apply for now, and I understand that since the change with the ADUs, there's a lot of overlap that goes on with these. Some of them, I don't even know whether or not they would even have to come before us. But given the request that's being made and what we're charged with in imposing the bylaw, we have to make that determination. Is there anything else that you folks want to ask or explore on that issue, or the fact that, you know, it clearly says that it's a sink? But a sink in and of itself doesn't necessarily create a kitchen, but we've got a bathroom sink, we've got a toilet, and we've got a shower on the second floor, and then we've got another shower on the first floor, but that shower has no accompanying sinks, it's just a shower. That seems like it's pretty incidental to the sauna, which I don't find that to be suspect at all. And just the bathroom being there, that doesn't, but the sink, it says a counter with a 15 by 15 bar sink. There are conditions that we can put on this.
Absolutely, but just a quick question for the petitioner. I thought, did you say you are reconstructing the new structure within the same footprint? I heard you, the little addition in the front or something like that.
Yeah, so the width is the same. We will use the footprint of the old structure with a small extension off the back, which is outlined in the site plan.
So it's not within the same footprint
Well,
of
he
the
said,
existing?
the petition said similar, right, which I don't like. It's either it is or it isn't.
No,
Now,
I
when you
mean,
say,
what did the building inspector, when his?
he didn't reference, I don't think.
Well, I think I said the footprint with a small extension off the
Right.
back is what
No,
I
that's
said.
what I thought, but I.
So you're
thought I
expanding
s-
on it somewhat. What's the expansion?
It's about 12 feet, I think,
12 feet by what?
by the width of the building.
Which is,
I believe it's 26, I can't
there's an
quite
expansion.
remember.
And that doesn't require any type of side yard or rear yard setback relief?
No, it doesn't.
And the building inspector did look at the site plans that you submitted and the plans that, or he had,
Yeah, the building inspector, the building commissioner, and have both verbally approved the project as well as the Conservation Commission.
Did you appear before the
Oh,
Conservation
I tell you
Commission
what,
on August
okay.
4th?
Last week, yeah.
it's over.
And the
probably
result?
900 square feet, this one.
It's over 900?
Probably, I don't know. Let me-
Do the math. So if it is, then.
So what's the square footage? Any, do you know what the square footage of the foot, is 24 by 32, but you got a jog somewhere, right? 24 by
Yeah, I think
32.
it's-
No, it doesn't count, I understand. And the I mean, I'm not sure if the sauna counts.
Can I read the letter from the building inspector again, please? I gave it to you. Oh, here it is.
Because if they applied for an ADU, this would be over 900 square feet, right?
I'm sorry?
If you would applied under the ADU, this structure would be over, you'll have over 900 square feet of living space, I believe.
It's been a minute since I've done the math on the exact condition space of the structure.
In his letter, he put in a similar footprint. He didn't get the specifics. All right, so I'm going to ask you, just in case, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak either in favor or in opposition to this petition? This is for the property at 54 Barney's Joy Road. It's certainly not a densely populated area. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak either in favor or in opposition? I'm getting nods of no.
Right,
So-
so no one's here, but.
So no one's here, one way or the other.
Garage, wow.
So usually on these plans, it'll tell you what the square footage is on this, right? Of living space and whatever else, but these don't have it. Is that what you're looking for, Helene?
Well, I mean, yeah, you're close to 800 square feet, so, with one footprint, so,
It's 25.
it's 2 floors, so I don't know.
Look, this is the petition. We're not gonna go outside of it. This is what he's asking for. Whatever restrictions you guys wanna put or conditions, we can do that if you feel comfortable. And then that's what they're asking for, that's what we're gonna grant. I know you're trying to help them out and see if you can find a way to say, hey, you don't even have to come before us. But I'd like to think that the building department might have brought that to their attention,
I was gonna say,
if they want to, but they don't have an obligation to. It's not like they represent them.
right.
200, oh, I think I see, what is that, 201? No, that's not, okay.
I don't know if you understand where we're going with this, okay? If this were 900 square feet of living space, you wouldn't even have to come before us.
Right.
If it because there's a new statute, there's a mandate that came down from the governor that says that you can build an ADU up to 900 square feet on your property.
Yep.
Exclusive of the garage. So many people, I don't know if you've seen them around, there's a garage on the first level, big building, garage, and on the second floor, there's living space.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's certainly over 900 square feet for conditioned space. and
If it is, I don't
It
know, I
is.
didn't do the math.
It is.
But if it were 900 or less, then you wouldn't have to come before us. You're coming before us, so now we have to treat it as an accessory structure.
Right.
And now we have to make a determination as to whether or not it is,
Right,
it is easily transferable into a residential unit.
Yeah,
And if it is, we will not grant it.
understood.
So the thing that's a little bit concerning, and my brother to the far right, is that sink. So we're gonna make sure that there isn't a sink. That's fine. Okay. Is that okay, Mr. Human?
Yes,
That address your concern?
it does.
Addresses mine too. Attorney Farrier? All right.
Okay.
All right, so there not being anyone in the audience, either in favor or in opposition, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Did you want to keep it open, just so it's not
Yeah, I guess we typically, yeah, you know something, we might want to do that. I do have a proposed, some proposed findings for this. However, I left them at the office, so they do us a lot of good here. But I can paraphrase what I had written, which is very standardized, it's only about six sentences. One of the things I needed to know from you is how long, we typically get that in the packet, it didn't have that, which is the assessors field card. How long has Mrs. Spatz owned this property?
But she can look it up, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, I wanted to add
Michelle will
that.
put
Mine
it.
was silent, I left a blank line for that.
It's the yellow.
Yes,
Here's a
it
field
wasn't
card.
part of- It wasn't on the website. Well, at least I
Oh, I
didn't see it.
thought they were.
All right, so according to this, she's owned it since,
Michael, oh, you got it?
yeah, I got it now. Well, actually, she owns it as trustee. She doesn't even own it individually. So we'll change that. And they've owned it since 2019. So since December of 2019.
I think they've owned and lived there for, I think, 30 years, but I think it's changed from
Owned it since
ownership to a trustee
1991.
or something like
They put it into
that.
a trust in 2019.
Yeah,
Oh, I see, that's David Bogan. I
that's
see
her
that as
husband.
well.
They
Okay.
don't share a last name.
All right, so it's been held by a trust since 1991. It says here July 2nd. Let me circle that.
No, individually, it looks like.
I don't know. Well, I would say then we go back to 2019 as trustee,
Right,
which is how they own it
they
now.
filed.
So they've owned it with the trust, but the thing is this, there at the bottom, it only shows one trustee, and at the top, it shows that there's two trustees. All right, we'll put it here, that they've owned it as trustees, they've held title as trustees since December 23rd, 2019. Fair enough?
Yes.
All right. All right, so gentlemen, I'm going to paraphrase. The decision basically holds that the property is located within the single residence B district, that the property is been held by Pamela S. Spatz as trustee since December 23rd of 2019, that they're proposing
There's a single residence.
there's a single-family residence on the
and an
premises
existing garage
with an
structure.
existing, okay, that they're proposing to demolish that structure and construct a new one, and in my decision, I put on a similar footprint, but I guess I'm gonna be more specific on the decision and say on a footprint measuring, and I'll go off of the plan, okay? I'll state the footprint measuring, that they're seeking relief
Under
under
section.
article and section, it's, let's see, it's section 375, 8.3, 1 and 2. And that there, under that, it requires that any type of wet bar or kitchen requires a special permit for a water connection. And that we've made a determination reviewing the plans that it's not readily converted, it's not to be readily converted into a residential unit. And that there's two conditions that come along with this. One is that it's not to be used as a residential unit, and two, that it's subject to inspections,
Yearly.
yearly inspections by the building department to determine whether or not the property is being utilized as a residential structure
By the building department.
by the building department.
Okay.
Yeah, upon notification.
Yes, there's notification, they don't just come
They're
in.
not just gonna pop in.
At least in the past,
IRS.
to my knowledge, ever. And the other one is that we find that it's not more detrimental, right, to the neighborhood? The typical standard for the special permit?
Yes.
That's in the finding, yeah.
That's in the findings.
The curb appeal will remain exactly the same as it is now.
Well, I'm
if
hoping
that's
it's gonna
helpful.
look better, you're telling me the other one's an old dilapidated
It'll look
structure.
better, yeah,
All right,
yeah.
it's gonna look better. I'm not saying much about it, the contract, it's not gonna look the same, right? All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
No.
Oh, the other thing is there something about the, what was the other condition?
Conditions,
Yeah, we're gonna have a condition with regard to the,
conservation.
that there's not to be a kitchen, there's not to be a sink or a kitchen on the premises?
I don't care about a sink, but anything, he's got a 15, it says 15-foot counter. What do you need a 15-foot counter for?
Usually it's the stove that we're concerned about mostly.
It is,
not
but-
but I mean, how do we,
It's just, on the plans, it's already the beginnings of something.
Right.
All right. We got the Board of Health with the septic system, so there's also a condition in there that you gotta seek all approvals from all town boards and agencies. And he did ask the question, but I wasn't paying attention. You went before the Concom on August 4th. How did that meeting go?
Great, positive result.
All right, did they approve it?
Yes,
So you're in the appeal period at this point?
yes.
All right.
Fine.
Attorney Faria?
I have no questions.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing. I don't have the,
I can,
where is it? On case number, on special permit ZSP-26-3 for 54 Bonnie's Joy Road.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, now, what's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Me? I make a motion that we approve special permit ZSP-26-3 with the facts and conditions stated previously on this matter.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Good luck.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. All right, so the next matter is variance case ZAV 26-7. Unfortunately, I have a conflict and I will not be able to stand and preside in a decision on that case. So we're going to take a short recess so that the board can reconvene with an alternate member so that we have the sufficient number to make a determination. So we're going to convene for a short recess. The zoning board is back in session. We're now starting our 6 o'clock segment of tonight's meeting. The 6 o'clock segment has been dedicated to 2 comprehensive permits, which are the 40B applications. The first one that's on the agenda for this evening is the Sherbrooke Farms, which is comprehensive permit ZCMP 25-2. The petitioner applicant's Robert Lincoln. The owner of the property is Sherbrooke Farms LLC, and the subject property is located at 498 Old Westport Road, also known as map 48, lot 29, and the property is located in the single residence B district. The matter has been legally advertised on August 7th and August 14th of 2025. We've already waived the reading of the abutters list. And just as a short, brief summary, this is the project located at 498 Old Westport Road, in which the developer is seeking to seek approval for 156 units of rental housing, including 39 affordable units. And there's a litany of waivers that they're requesting, which we've already read into the record once before. So I don't know who's here tonight on behalf of the petitioner, but I know that there's been, excuse me, I'm just gonna segue into you at some point. I know that there's been extensive communication between other boards of town, in town, such as DPW and whatnot. And I do know that our council has had extensive communications with the petitioner as well. So I'll defer to you to bring us up to speed.
Right.
And then just keep in mind that we've already closed the public hearing
Yep.
portion of this application.
Right, so the hearing closed on July 9th. So after July 9th, no additional testimony of any kind could come in. So at that point, and as of July 9th, the board had reviewed an initial draft of conditions, as had the applicant, and had reviewed all of the proposed waivers. So as of the time it closed, that had happened. There were, when it was closed, there were a few just drafting issues, primarily related to kind of the formula for future contribution to the sewer pump station upgrades. The applicant kind of elected to work with the DPW going forward after they have a full design and kind of sort out what the impacts are going to be, and then agree to what their share of that will be at a future date, as opposed to committing to an amount upfront. So you have a draft in front of you. You should have 2 documents, actually, the board. One of them is a red line, which says draft conditions at the top with the date August 6th.
Yep.
And I'll just briefly, some of it was, I just read it from front to back again and caught some, drafting errors and that type of thing, filled in the blanks on the number of units and bedrooms, et cetera. So that most of it was not substantive. There was a request that had been made, for example, on the July 9th meeting before it closed, so on page 7, about the planning director had raised that there was some insufficient landscaping on some of the landscape islands, et cetera, so that was inserted on page 7, based on the discussion on July 9th. Most of the other changes that you will see were all based on conversations that happened on July 9th, and the most substantive changes on page 10, and this is where the discussion of the flow to the north pump station came in, and kind of the process that the applicant agrees to undertake with DPW to determine what their contribution will be. So that had been reviewed by Tim Barber, the DPW director. He couldn't be here tonight, but he confirmed for me that he is comfortable with this language. It's just modified. It's the same concept as the board reviewed on July 9th, just tweaked to kind of fit with the process that will work for DPW and the applicant. But conceptually, it's the same. There's no new information or testimony that is included in that condition. And then some of the other changes that you're seeing is really more rearranging. It looks like there's a lot of changes, say on page 15, 16, 17, but we just reordered some of the conditions. It's primarily what happened there. Updated the plan references on Schedule A, and then the waivers, originally, what now is reading, and you'll see in the track changes as whether granted or granted with kind of a caveat, those were all discussed with the board on July 9th. We've now just filled in that column to state what the board's actions is. There's a couple of gray highlighting on, say, B3, you'll see it. These were just, there were some dimensions that had been in the original waiver list that were off. They were like, they hadn't input they had the wrong, it was 17.5 feet, they had 21 feet, it was a wrong, they just corrected those, so those are just factual corrections that happened, but they've just been highlighted so the board would see what had changed since the July 9th version. And the only one, again, but it was discussed on July 9th, was that they had asked for a waiver on the height of some of the trees that were going to be planted as part of the landscaping. I will tell you, though, I am seeing something. If you look on page B6, I am going to suggest an edit.
Which page again?
B6, so you're at the second to last page.
I got it.
The board action on those actually should be reversed. This waiver on the height of the trees, that one is the one that's, it might be both. So there's a condition that the plantings are maintained and replaced if necessary. So the waiver's granted, but subject to a condition that the plantings are maintained and replaced if necessary for a period of 2 years. And I believe that would apply to both 26 and 27. So that's the only change that I would suggest on those. I think the bigger concern was if you had smaller caliper trees, making sure that they survived. So that's what's changed since the July 9th. I didn't know if the board had any questions about any of the changes, the proposed conditions.
Well, one of them that I noticed was that there was, I don't know if maybe I had missed it, that there was a clear designation as to how many bedroom units there would be. And according to this, it says it's 64 one-bedroom units, 72 two-bedroom units, and 16 three-bedroom units, for a total of 252 bedrooms.
Yep.
So that was clarified, and I didn't know whether or not that had ever really been put forth, and if it had, I wasn't clear on it.
Yeah, I think the earlier hearings kind of focused more on that, and then as the board got into traffic and stormwater and other issues, then the unit mix hadn't been discussed as much at the back end of the hearings, but had been focused on more at the beginning of the hearing.
So, am I to understand, and I think you made it clear, but I just want to make sure that any fees for contributions for I&I and all of that that's all been reached in agreement between TBW and the petitioner?
Well, the applicant's paying 100% of all water and sewer fees, and they are there's no infrastructure that needs to be upgraded in order to in the street to take their flow, but they're going to make a contribution into a fund for the North Pump Station.
Yeah, and the formula that was put together is to the satisfaction of Tim Barber?
Yeah. Yep.
That's always nice. Anything else we should be concerned with?
No, I think the significant mitigation on traffic was putting in the all-new crosswalks and the ramp, making them all ADA accessible because they have sidewalks that lead to UMass Dartmouth right near their site. And they're putting in all-new crosswalks, handicap ramps, all of that to make it more safe and handicap accessible.
Yeah. Gentlemen, any questions of council, just in case there were some concerns that you may have had? Because I think we're probably in a posture of voting on this.
The actual construction plans are dated June 25th, 2026?
So the project plan, they're not the construction plans?
Project
Yeah,
plans, I'm
the
sorry.
project plans are dated, yep, let me just, Schedule A, that is the most, hold on, let me look at my Schedule A. Yes, the plans revised through June 25th, 2026 are the project plans, and then there's post-permit plan modifications that are conditions. They had made a lot of the plan modifications in this that had come in from peer review and DPW. They had made most of them in the June 25th, but not all of them. So there is a few pages of post-permit plan updates that are required. And those are all, start on page 5. It's all section C of the decision, starts on page 5, at the bottom of page 5, so it's really 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. I guess
Yep.
one of my concerns was, there was a neighbor that came in and said that they lived, I guess, the southwest corner of the property.
He's directly across, here if you.
Is that
oh,
the
wait,
one
if
with
you
the
want-
corner view?
He's somewhere over here.
Oh, you're talking about him, I thought you meant the woman who
No,
meant,
no, no,
oh,
there was
yep.
he was an apple farmer, yeah.
Yep.
And he said that they previously raised this area up, so he couldn't see all the work that was being done there. That, this area is gonna remain the same in terms of height. They're not gonna cut it back. We don't know that.
I'm not an engineer,
Okay.
but I believe that had been
Discussed.
discussed and responded to at that
Yeah,
hearing.
I think so.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
I'm just, all right.
Yeah.
Just as an update, unfortunately, that gentleman's no longer with us.
Oh,
Yeah, he passed away. He was a very nice gentleman.
Oh, that's in the last couple of months.
Yes.
Yeah. It's too
He
bad.
actually owned the orchard.
Yeah.
Any, Attorney Farrar, any questions? All right.
So if
So
the,
what's your suggestion to us at this point in time?
well, if the board needs to act because the deliberation period is going to end prior to your next
meeting.
scheduled meeting,
Because we have 40 days from when we close the public hearing to actually put together a draft decision
and take action,
and actually either vote or deny.
right.
Okay?
There is a full draft of the decision here with findings, et cetera, which you had been provided prior to this meeting. And there's proposed vote language if the board were elected to act favorably.
Now, if we were to move forward on this, we do it collectively as one vote for the comprehensive permit with the conditions that are provided as a
Yeah, the
second.
conditions and the waivers. So there, the
language,
condition,
right?
yeah, there's language, the language in the vote was in an email. I know, is that email there? No. I've got it. I got it.
no.
There you go. If you want, you want to make the motion?
All right, so before we do that,
Let's talk.
is there, exactly, I just want to make sure. You all have an opportunity to express what your concerns may be on this project if you'd like to. I'm not saying that you need to. And, because obviously, we can't take any further public comment on it. And it's not like we don't want to, it's just there's a statute that says that once we vote to close the public hearing, that portion of the entire process is basically at its end. So now, we have basically these two documents that we've reviewed. There's been some changes made to it, which is, every time we try to make a change, we try to make it better, right? Try to make it clearer, remove ambiguities from it, and not only that, we've also made some changes that were to benefit, the residents or the town at large, just to ensure that we try to minimize the impact of this. I don't think short of, denying it, that anyone in the area is gonna be happy, right, quite frankly, but our job is to balance it out. So, and I don't wanna beat a dead horse, so if there's anything you guys would like to say before we move forward,
And I don't think it's beneficial to the residents really if we deny it in a way.
Well,
you
because
know,
of what the
we have
con-
to-
because
Because
of
of the
what the-
conditions that we placed on this project,
Exactly.
so.
And not only that, I would have to say this, and I'm not trying to cast anything on anyone, but this petitioner has been very, very amenable throughout this process to work with us, so that if there's something that we had a concern with, most of the time, they would just say, well, we'll get back to you, we gotta check with the applicant, we'll get back to you. And the last big one that we had, where we had concerns about some of the improvements to the crosswalks. And from what I understand through you, they've agreed to make all of those changes to meet what our expectation was.
That's correct.
Plus, they negotiated all the additional improvements. They negotiated that to the extent that there was discussions between them and DPW. I don't know if you remember the last one we were dealing with. We're at the 11th hour trying to determine, what's gonna happen with, sewer lines, what's gonna happen with water lines. It's kind of like, let's make a deal, which it's dirty, it's ugly. I don't like it. Here, we've had the ability to avoid all that.
The other significant change they made was, you were concerned about the landscaping and the parking layout. And
They made the revisions,
yeah,
and
and
they came
they-
back with more landscape and,
Yeah, they reworked the parking lot.
buffers and.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I mean, I think we've worked with them for,
Plus, as I see it, they're gonna clean up that area.
Well, it's been contaminated for some
Right,
time.
yeah.
And they've already spent some money, from what I understand, to try to address some of that, but they're gonna have to do that before they get to the point of completion. I think they're gonna have to do it much earlier than later in the course of the project,
Yep, no question.
which is a similar situation to what we had at Joe's U Cycle over there, which is the preserve. That was a contaminated area that we've had to sort of, as a hot potato, so to speak, the town's been always reluctant to get
I
involved.
drive by there, the buildings are up, some of the buildings are beautiful. I mean, I don't know, those are the clubhouse or whatever. I don't drive in.
Yeah.
But, it's coming along,
He's
Anything
got-
you'd like to add, Attorney Farrier? No. All right. It's unlike you not to have some sort of a comment. All right. All right. Don't we all? All right. So gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
I'm willing to approve it.
Okay.
Well, you need to put a motion.
Yeah.
You need to put a motion? All right, I'll put a motion. I make a motion that we approve comprehensive permit ZCMP-25-2, that the zoning board of appeals make the findings set forth in section I, or 1, of the draft decision reviewed by the board at this hearing, and grant the comprehensive permit for the project shown on the project plans described in Schedule A attached here thereto, subject to the conditions set forth in Section 2 thereof, and to take action on the waivers as indicated in Schedule B thereto. Such findings, conditions, and schedules are expressly incorporated into this vote by reference and are each deemed by the board to be an integral part of the comprehensive permit.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. That one's over, unfortunately.
Oh, fortunately.
All right. So now, moving on.
Oh, hang on there, Sherbrooke. Oh, that's good.
Next is comprehensive permit ZCMP 25-3, which was continued from July 30th of 2026. The petitioner is Philip Cordero on behalf of the Hathaway Dartmouth LLC, which is the applicant via P&S agreement. Subject property is 0 Hathaway Road, also known as map 57, lot 1. It's a single residence A. It's located within the single residence A district. It was legally advertised on December 18th and December 25th of 2025. We previously waived the reading of the abutters list. The petitioner is Hathaway Dartmouth LLC and is seeking to develop and build a structure, several structures, which have 300 residential units. And it's located on a parcel that is 113 acres. All right, gentlemen. So I can say that a couple of weeks back, I think a few weeks, more than a couple of weeks, we had a workout session in which I met with the applicant, their counsel, I think their architect. We had Mr. Giosa there, who was our town planner, and we also had our counsel.
And Mr. Barber.
And Tim Barber from DPW. And there was extensive extensive discussions that we had with regard to some of the concerns that the neighbors had, concerns that board members had, with different aspects and facets of the project. And I believe that, they heard us, they heard, when I say us, the DPW, they heard council, they heard myself. I don't represent anyone on this board, but I think I've got a familiar understanding as to what some of the concerns were based on the comments that were being made, not only by the public at large. So at this point, I'm going to call upon the petitioner to see whether or not they've decided to put forth a proposal to us that addresses some of those concerns, if I will.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Mark Donahue from Fletcher Tilton on behalf of the applicant. This entire process comes under a fair amount of criticism, with a statutory obligation foisted on a town to promote affordable housing and then push back to you to try to figure out how to do that without, many say, without a whole lot of bullets in the gun, so to speak. And some of that criticism is fair, but I think that the Hathaway discussion is an example of when the process works. And by that I mean that the applicant comes forward with a well-thought-out plan, talks with the town in advance, hears concerns, incorporates those into the design, and then enters into the public hearing process in which not only board members but the public have a chance to see what the proposal is and to be able to comment on it. Based upon that, the applicant's then able to distill that, go back at the plan, see how it can be responded to in that fashion. When we last met, you saw some of those ideas that we had, such as reducing a portion of the buildings on the most northerly part of the site by a floor, a portion of the top floor, and some other concessions that we had. There was some concern or criticism that that wasn't going far enough, and we had the working session that Chair referred to. What we have this evening to refer you to is we've basically taken each area of concern that's been expressed over the last 7 months and have come up with a series of concessions on each of those that we're prepared to make if the board's prepared to move toward an approval on those grounds and conditions. So to start with, the concern has been expressed with regard to the buildings on the northerly side, northerly being the most proximate to Eisenhower Street, and the size of those buildings, and the visual impact that they may have upon the neighbors. What we have done is reduce the height of all of those buildings by essentially a floor. And with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd like Mr. Clay Smook, the architect, to review with you in detail what that looks like and some pictures so the board and the public can understand the impact of this concession.
Thank you.
God, look at all the trees we're killing.
Excuse me, can you just make sure that electronic copies get submitted as well after tonight? Yeah. Yeah, through the portal would be great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, how does it work?
Little River Bridge.
For the record, Clay Smook with Smook Architecture on behalf of the applicant. As you mentioned, we had a working session. A lot of the key issues were discussed, and we went back and rethought about how to best address those issues, and I believe that we've come up with a plan that addresses comprehensively all those issues. So again, as we know where the site is, you can go through, bring us zooming in finally to the site plan. So as you know, I'm just trying to make sure this, there we go. As you know, there are 6 buildings. What we are currently proposing is to remove the upper levels of these 3 most northerly buildings known as B, D, and F. These buildings will now be the one in the front, which is Building B, most proximate to Hathaway, is going to be 3 stories tall or 33 feet tall from the grade to the top of the building. These other buildings, based on the topography, are going to be three-story buildings that will also have a walkout lower level that will access other units and the parking there. That these three, by lowering the density of these units, we've brought the unit count down to 280 apartments. Again, with the closest buildings closest to Eisenhower now at the 33 feet from the low side. From the mid side here, it's about 37 feet. The buildings over here, Building A remains a 4-story building, which is 44 feet tall. Buildings C and E are 4-story buildings, again with a walkout lower level. We're still proposing the entrance on the south, and we're actually going to show you some signage opportunities that we've identified in terms of a low stone wall. Next slide. So this is a cross-section. The red line shows where we are from Hathaway through those 3-story and 3-story walkouts, looking south. You can see the scale has come down significantly, being 3 stories. It's more in keeping with the character of the adjacent buildings on Eisenhower. We'll show you some cross-sections. And the red dotted line, because of the way the grade drops, that red dotted line is at 33. And the datum at the next building is similar to the front building on Hathaway. And then, of course, this building drops down because of the grade. Next slide. This is a visual of what the building facing the sort of the northern facade of the building facing Eisenhower will look like, as well as the lower buildings, again, 3 stories with a walkout where you can see the grade just naturally dropping. We're taking advantage of that grade. We also brought this exhibit, which we've shown before. This is the Sherborne development, which is 3 stories. You can see our building, the cornice line matches their building. In fact, their building then has a pitched roof on top of it that I believe is a dark color, so it actually appears a much bigger mass. Next slide. This section's taken further south, southerly. These are the buildings that are adjacent to the church, again, through Hathaway, Building A, C, and E. Again, these are the 4-story buildings. The furthest most buildings from Eisenhower, again, 44 feet, the grade dropping down. Next slide. So here we start to see, in exhibits that you've seen before, but now instead of just taking a small chunk out of that upper level, we've removed the entire 4th floor. Again, our building is 33 feet, very much in keeping with the scale. This is the building that's the home that's on the very corner of Eisenhower and Hathaway. You can see the roof of this building is actually almost higher than that. And of course, Phil will talk about the screening that's going to be both maintained and augmented. Next slide. Moving down, these are all slides we've seen before, but you're just starting to see the effects of losing that story here, which we believe is really significant and actually improves the overall urban design of the project. Next. Finally, working further down, again, the house, and Phil can go again if people are interested in knowing exactly what these dimensions are. We have them noted here. Again, 3 stories. Next slide. So this is the building. This is Building A. This is the building that sort of greets you at the entry, the southernmost entry. We're proposing a low stone wall with some pin-mounted letters. It would probably be halo lit from behind to announce the development as you come in. Again, building A has, here is the entry, and at the lowest level, significant portion of this level is the fitness clubhouse and leasing center. And the other part of it that's kind of interesting is to get that 280 units, we obviously rejiggered some of the mix. It's important to note that 68% of the units, the apartments in this complex, are either studio or 1-bedroom. So we felt that was significant to point out. And with that, I think I'll turn it to you, Phil. We're back to attorney. Back to the attorney. Thank you. I'm willing to take any questions now or later.
I don't know, let's see if any members of the board. Any questions of Mr. Smoot?
Not at this time, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
I have no questions.
Thank you.
So the import of those changes to the development reduced the unit count from 300 originally filed to a total of 280. And as Mr. Smook pointed out, the majority of those are studio and one-bedroom units. The second issue that we've talked about over the last 7 months with some extensive discussion relates to parking. And the parking discussion has dealt with a few different components. A concern of the Eisenhower Street neighbors that future parking, because we were showing it as reserve, would be would limit the amount of visual buffer they would have, vegetated buffer, because it would be parking along the northerly side of the development and therefore getting close to them. A concern expressed on our request for a waiver to build out all of the parking, that there wasn't adequate parking to be able to support the development, and otherwise the location of the parking as it related to the utilization for the residents and to make sure that it served the development in total. All of those have been mixed together for a fairly comprehensive change to the parking. And I'm going to ask Mr. Cordero to try to review it with you in detail as to how it affects 3 different sides of the development. Bill?
Good evening. Thank you. For the record, Phil Cordero from Allen and Major Associates. Just to walk through the relationship of the change of the buildings to how it affects the site. I think you can go to the end of the architectural sides, please, Jack. Right there. So this plan that's on the screen is what the board and the public have seen in the past. The markings along the right side indicate the separation of the buildings to the property line, shown in red, and then from the property line shown to the nearest house, proximate, shown in those green lines. So this is the familiarity, this is the baseline. If I could advance to the next slide. The plan generally, as Mr. Smook pointed out, the buildings follow the same general footprint, but the scale of the buildings have been reduced in terms of height. And what we've been able to do in the reduction of the units is then make accommodations and changes to the parking, specifically around the north property line here, the south property line, the north, the west, and the south property line. So most noticeably, you'll observe parking located along the south property line, and as I get into greater detail, no parking along the west and the north property line. And I can certainly walk through the individual dimensions as we walk through the rest of the slides. If you could advance one, please. Mr. Smook already went over this. This is the change in the elevations of the buildings. The slide is here just for duplication to, again, refocus the board and the public as to where we've made the changes to the site. This is the inciting changes to how we can manipulate the site to accommodate and address and react to the reduction in the building height, and then vis-a-vis the reduction of the units as shown along the bottom. If you could advance one, please. So along that northerly parking line, the slide to the left, frame of reference, the black and white shaded portion is Eisenhower. Here's our development plan. There's a reminder of those blue and green lines that you've seen several times throughout the process. And what I've given you on the left is the approximate dimensions for the buffer zone that would be left were we to build out the reserve banked parking, the 42 spaces along that north property line. So walking through from west to east, 34.6, 41.8, 46.4. In the change, we are removing those banked parking spaces from the board's consideration. The intent when you move over to the right side of the plan, which is the current iteration of it, we would maintain the same curb line that provides vehicular access for not only the residents, but emergency apparatus personnel. We would maintain that curb line, and then the remainder of that land area would no longer be viable for parking. It would remain in either its naturalized state, which is generally shown in the shaded area here, or an augmented state of
seed mix and lawn mixture, or in the case as you approach Hathaway where there are no trees present, the augmented landscaping plan that we had presented to the board early on with some high rapid growth, emerald green arborvitaes, green giant arborvitaes, things that provide effective, thick screen barriers between properties for visual obscurity. And what happens is we then commit that same buffer zone here, which averaged about 40.9 feet, would now average 60 feet in total. And you can see in this area here, this shaded highlighted zone is 55.6, and down here is approximately 65.1. The drive aisle is not exactly parallel to the property line, which is what explains that difference in numbers. But everything beyond the curb line would be in some fully stabilized vegetated state with increased landscaping and screening throughout. As a general reminder, because as Mr. Smook pointed out, in terms of the elevations of the building, these continue to walk down the slope. So I remind the public, I remind the board that our driveway through here is at least 10 feet lower in elevation than the backyards of the homes along Eisenhower. And obviously we will have a fully stabilized slope. No need for retaining walls because we can do it with earth and stabilization, but we'll make sure that that slope stays fully in place. If you could advance one. Now, if I move towards the westerly property line, the upper left corner is the older plan. These spaces are a little hard to see, but you can see the dashed lines through here focused on this area within the blue box. We had again proposed to the board the notion of having banked parking spaces that we would build if we needed to. We would remove those spaces from the application, remove them from a request of consideration of the board. And in doing so, we can remove approximately 7,500 square feet of impervious surface area. And that is directly adjacent to wetland resource areas under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. So we perceive that as an improvement to the environmental benefit of the property. In reducing that impervious, we are not suggesting reduction of the stormwater systems. So as a reminder to the board, all of our stormwater systems were designed as if we built out all of those parking spaces. The two areas that I've now shown you that we're removing, we're not seeking that equivalent deduct credit in the stormwater system, which means we have additional capacity in our systems to handle some additional runoff from the site. It increases our native factor of safety and just further reinforces our compliance with the Dartmouth stormwater regulations and the Mass DEP stormwater regulations. The entirety of that area along the west side, that will be slope, it will be stabilized. We will seed that with a mixture compatible with the wetland resource area. So those familiar with work adjacent to wetlands, it's called an erosion seed mix. It introduces wetland species plants that grow up to be a wildflower mix along that rear slope, and they ultimately integrate into the wetlands and the buffer zone through there. And it'll ultimately, once constructed and allowed to grow in, start to read as if it's one continuous existing wetland resource area or buffer to the wetland resource area. Next slide, please. Along the south property line is where we have manufactured some additional changes. First and foremost, we have introduced to the board in the south west corner the notion of the recreational shared sports court for our residents and potentially the church to the south of us. We are removing that from the application. It obviously drew into question some considerations of sloping, easement, variances, or waivers for the retaining wall in that location, the coordination of work with the church to provide access through there, and it obviously created an opportunity for a more complex discussion than the sports court ultimately became. So this sports court is obviously coming out of contention. In doing so, we've reduced the impervious area generated by that by about 5,000 square feet. Same argument, no deduct credit in terms of stormwater, so we'll leave the additional capacity in the system. and then therefore eliminate the off-site grading through here in this shaded area on the plan on the left to become the plan that's shown on the right. Next slide, please. In the same area, where we did formerly have the banked parking spaces shown on the left side of the plan, they're dashed through here. We would now agree under the plan to construct day one, meaning a single-phase project constructed with the project, the 53 parking spaces along the south property line, as shown here. Those would now be built into the project to deepen our parking ratio count per unit per bedroom. And in making some accommodations to the building positioning of A, C, and A, C, and E, with a shift closer to the buildings adjacent to it, we're actually able to get some additional parking spaces along the side of each building to net an additional 28 spaces to, again, help with that parking demand to really ensure and reinforce what we're suggesting to the board and to the public of adequacy of parking here without the threat that our residents will move off-site and utilize off-property parking. We don't want that. The town certainly does not want that. With those parking spaces in place, we will provide to the church an average landscaped buffer depth of 32 feet. Generally, it's 30.8 feet here, 33.6 feet here. Again, that same splay of the property line exists, not exactly parallel, but that area will remain sloped and vegetated with the seed mix. Through conversation with the town planner in reviewing the plans, he would like to see us do some landscaping along that slope, so that is something we're looking into as well. It's not suggested by this plan, but we're looking into that notion. Next slide, please. So what does that net out to in terms of total? If the board and the public recall, in the prior iteration of the plan, we had a parking ratio of 1.14 spaces per unit based on 300 units, with the initial construction being 341 with deferred spaces of 132. Now we would bring forth the notion of 425 constructed parking spaces in support of the 280 units, which provides a ratio of 1.52, which we have provided support for as adequate parking in terms of parking standards and the ITE parking demand management programs and published guidance. And Vanessa had pointed that out during our initial discussions. And that same 425 parking spaces nets out as a ratio of 1.07 space based on the bedroom count provided. If we could advance one further slide. So we want to put this in the context of the other projects that the board has been reviewing within the town of Dartmouth. So Sherbrooke Farms, which has 152 units, 256 bedrooms, they are provided a count of 267 parking spaces, which is 176 per unit, 1.04 per bedroom. Similarly, the residences at Hawthorne with 138 units, 425 bedrooms, 345 spaces is 2.5 spaces per unit, but only 0.81 per bedroom. With our revised tabulation at 280 units, 398 bedrooms, and the 425 parking illustrated, we are now at a 1.52 ratio and a 1.07 space per bedroom. So as the board can see, we're actually providing the highest ratio of parking on a per bedroom basis than the other two projects that are currently under discussion here within the town. I think that's our last slide. So again, for the board, I'm happy to field questions on the site planning materials from the board and the public. And certainly turn over, Mark, back to you if you'd like to make any additional comments. Or,
All right, gentlemen,
No? Okay.
any questions of this portion of the presentation?
I have none.
Mr. Schuber?
Just a quick question on, I think this is certainly improved plan over what you submitted before. My question on the west side, and why did you decide to remove the 43 bank spaces? You don't think you need them? I mean, you had them before, it wasn't an issue with permitting with wetlands, right?
Well, we haven't gone to, could you advance to the slide just so we're all looking at the same reference area, please, Jack? 1 second, sir. Keep going, keep going. Back one, please. There we go. So the area that we're talking about, we felt it is a betterment to remove the potential impervious area close to the wetlands. It has not been raised as an issue with the Conservation Commission. They have not seen an application from us. So we're not indicating that they denied it or suggested otherwise. We made the internal discussion that providing sloped area adjacent to the wetland resources and the buffer was better than providing the parking area. That's why we removed it. And in doing so, and in our ability to provide the minimum 1.5 parking ratio and putting them elsewhere on site was sufficient for our needs.
Attorney Farrier? I have no question. All righty.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The third area that has been the subject of discussion with the board and with the DPW relates to water and sewer. It has been determined by Stantec, your peer reviewer, that there is adequate water and sewer capacity. They have recommended in their most recent report and referred to a previous report that they issued, I think in 2024, the replacement of a section of the sewer line in Hathaway in order to accommodate the development when it's fully constructed. We have been requested to do that work, and we are prepared to accept the condition requiring that work to be done during the course of the construction of the development. Part of our discussion had been a potential offset of water and sewer fees, essentially treating that as an in-kind payment instead. That has reached some resistance through the DPW. We are dropping that request. Our waiver request includes a request for a waiver for the water and sewer fees in their entirety as it relates to the affordable units. We're prepared to withdraw that request for the waiver. And then finally, there has been identified, it's referred to in the Stantec report and elsewhere, that the north pump station needs to be replaced at some point. We've been asked to make a fair share contribution to that, and we will contribute $40,000 of that cost, which based upon the most recent estimate is about 25% of the material cost of the development. With regard to water and sewer, we have previously discussed with you traffic and the concept of fair share and increasing our fair share contribution to $30,000. We stand by that and are prepared to make that to a traffic improvement fund utilized by the town as it deems fit. We have previously made a commitment to the 6 abutters on Eisenhower Street, most proximate to the site, to fund improvements on their own property up to $5,000 if they were to do that. And assuming that there's no appeal of the development by those developers, by those abutters, we're prepared to do that. And then I think finally there had been some discussion, although albeit not a lot, of concern the board had about our request for a waiver to allow a billboard out by the highway, and we will withdraw that request. So what we have tried to do, as I said, is listen through this process, what's been raised as a concern, and make essentially our best case that we can to try to address those concerns. And we would hope that the board would take those into consideration. The entire team's glad to answer any questions about it. But if the board is open to that, we're prepared to move forward toward working with council toward a decision in that regard. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, that's a lot to digest. So, obviously, there have been some concessions. You wanted to say something, Susan?
No.
Seemed like you wanted to say something to me, that's So I'm all ears.
No, I'm just turned to look to the board to listen,
Yes.
because everyone's
To
just
discuss,
hearing, everyone's just hearing this laid out.
That's right.
And so I'm deferring to you all.
Well, I didn't know what the proposal would be until this very moment. We had sense of, what they were considering, but I don't know what the, what the formal presentation would be. So I would say this, having been present during that workout session, we had sort of a list of items that we were concerned with. And they pretty much addressed all of them. Some of them, they weren't necessarily at the forefront for me. I figured that let them battle that out with DPW, so to speak, for lack of a better term, but it seems to me that they were able to work out those concerns. Because I know that the sewer line in front of this project was of significant concern to Mr. Barber, and that the town would have a significant cost in that. I know that $150,000 was thrown out there. I know that as much as $300,000 was thrown out there at one time. But assuming that they've reached those terms as to the extent of that improvement, the size of that improvement, that's certainly something that is a concession. I just want to express to you how it is that I think we got to this. So this is a public meeting. The public portion of the meeting is still open, so I will provide an opportunity if someone wants to come forward. Obviously, there's a new proposal. It's different, right? Certainly different. I'm sure that it doesn't make everyone happy. I know that I'm not completely happy with it, for sure. But I think what would make me happy is an impossibility. So at this point, if there's anyone that wants to come forward and would like to speak either in favor or in opposition, I think there are going to be probably people that want to speak in opposition. Come on forward and explain to us what your concerns are.
Ron Dulong, 24 Dean Street. It's nice that they cut that down to 3 stories, those 3 buildings. I think that's good. I think they should cut the other 3 buildings down to 3 stories also. They only lost 20 apartments, right? So what's 20 more? I mean, they're going to be making $7.2 million a year in rent based on a $2,000 per unit. I mean, I don't know how much affordable housing is compared to non-affordable housing, unaffordable housing. But still, at the same time, the parking is still not enough parking. They're saying 1.5 per unit, and they're going by bedrooms. I mean, they're not thinking that maybe 2 teenagers that just got their license live in 1 bedroom. Could be three cars for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Quite
Right?
frankly, that's going to be their problem. That's going to be an administrative problem that they're going to have to deal with their own tenants. So at some point, if a tenant doesn't have a place to park, then they're going to want to not pay their rent, or they're going to consider moving elsewhere. If you're really concerned about anything as far as
Okay.
on Hathaway Road, we could put a condition that they're going to put no parking signs.
All right,
on Hathaway.
I like that. I would like that, no parking, but now what are they going to go to?
Well, then the thing is, they're going to have to deal with that. Either
right.
they're going to have to come back and they're going to have to create that area that was designated previously as bank parking. They might have to re-explore it and.
I saw
dedicate-
a dog park on one of those pictures too. They could take that dog park out and probably put another 20,
Well, they could do a lot of different
right,
things,
all right, well, anyway,
The other thing is this, we just can't, there's only so much pushback that we can create.
Right. I
Before they
understand that.
decide to take their marbles and go elsewhere. And if they go to the housing committee, and we just recently, our attorney presented us with a case with a town that shot something down, and then what came back was much worse than what they were discussing.
I see.
So, and it wasn't sent to us in a threatening manner, it was just sent to us just more information, more knowledge as to what the expectation could be if we keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
Well, my suggestion is just to go 3 stories on all the buildings and lose 20 more. So they have what? They'll have 240 apartments. 200 would be better.
I thank you. Is there anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Dan Goodrich. I'm an attorney at Murphy and King in Boston. I'm here representing, as of 2 days ago, I was retained by Mr. Rodriguez, who's on Eisenhower Street. So obviously, I didn't have the ability to review the plans that were submitted, as you guys clearly didn't have the ability to review these new plans. So at the outset, I'd hope that we'd have at least a continuance until the next hearing before a vote, would be my request. My client has engaged several engineers to do peer review studies. It seems like the sewer issue has been discussed this evening, but we've already engaged an engineering firm to do an additional peer review study at my client's cost that we'd like to be submitted for consideration at the board level. I think that would be grounds for an additional continuance, just to have that additional data to review. I understand there are some concessions regarding the wetlands. I've litigated many wetlands cases in my life, and that was the initial thing that kind of jumped out at me when reviewing these plans, that the delineation data was stale and old, and I've thought about engaging separately. I haven't formalized an engagement with a wetlands expert to come in and do a new delineation, but it seems like some of the concerns were addressed this evening, but I still would like to look into that and potentially submit a peer review on that angle as well. So again, I think because things are recently been brought to light this evening, I think it would be appropriate to push this out another 30 days or for your September hearing. Give me and my client enough time to put some peer review materials together. Just out of abundance of information is always good for you folks to consider. Again, Dan Goodrich, and I'd look forward to working with you guys on this. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the position you're in, quite frankly, and I understand that you're representing one of the abutters. But it's just that we're getting close to the end here. We're almost at the 11th hour. And obviously, we can ask for a lot of different things. And I think that the petitioner's been cooperative in a lot of what we've requested. I don't know. We're gonna have to check with council to see what we can do. I don't know what the timeframe is with this.
Right now, the board's obligated, without any further extension from the applicant, the board has to close the hearing tonight.
So, just so everyone, viewers at home, everyone here that's present, if they don't agree, I haven't asked, they may agree, if they don't agree to a continuance of this, then we are at a phase in which we have to close the public hearing. And once we close the public hearing, we're no longer able to take any comment from the public, and then we have 40 days, we're charged within 40 days of drafting a decision with appropriate conditions and waivers, and then it'll be voted upon, just like we did for Sherbrooke. We did it for Sherbrooke tonight, and we had already closed the public hearing at the last meeting. And I appreciate your decision, and I respect your request. It's just that, we're 7 months into this, and we've had peer reviewer after peer reviewer look at this. We've also at a point where the DPW has made their own assessment. They hired Stantec, which was one of the foremost authorities, I think, in that area, and they've already provided their opinion to us, and they've already, they've made and addressed some of the concerns about the impacts on the dock
Yeah,
water.
I certainly understand the constraints that the board has. I would just ask you to consider the fact that so much more information was brought before you tonight, that it might be
And I always
appropriate for an
appreciate more
additional time.
information than not. I really, really do. So I will strenuously ask, but we'll see.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else in the audience? Come on forward, ma'am. No, you gotta come up. It's all right, you bring it down. Look, you got a
I'm about
gentleman that's
10
gonna
feet
bring it
tall,
down.
so
There you
that-
go.
Thank you.
State your name and address.
Yep. Geraldine Lopes, 19 Eisenhower Street, Dartmouth. And I'm at the bottom of Eisenhower Street, and I'll be facing the property. I have read in the local papers about concerns about the sewerage, and that Dartmouth is very, I don't know how to put it, but low on spare sewerage.
Capacity, we're almost getting close to full capacity. You probably
Yeah.
heard that, right?
Yeah. So has that been discussed with these people in terms of what they will do to,
Ma'am, that issue's been discussed with the Hawthorne project That issue's been discussed with the Sherbrooke project, and that issue's been discussed with this project.
What was the result of the discussion? Because I didn't hear it.
My understanding, and I think our counsel will be able to provide an explanation.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, I believe it's been discussed with every non-40B project. That's been coming before your board and the planning board.
That's true. I
So
only
it's
refer
not
to the
just
40Bs because they're bigger in numbers, so they
Right.
seem to have more of a significant impact
Right.
on the system.
Right, but they all cumulatively will affect the station. So I am not an engineer or DPW director, but Mr. Barber could not be here tonight, so I will do my best to summarize my understanding, okay, with that asterisk. The plant is at, a stressed state. That does not have a lot of capacity left. The town has been doing all sorts of studies through the Board of Public Works with Stantec about the future need to upgrade, replace, whatever that might be, the treatment plant. So I think a lot of people like yourself, who's following it in the news, is aware of that. Currently, there is still capacity. There's not a lot, but it's there. And the law, as a general rule, is as long as there is capacity, anyone who asks for it is entitled to it. Now, it doesn't mean that at some point, the issue is not the town really saying we can't handle anymore, but the state, DEP, only allows the treatment plant to get to a certain point, at which point the state could tell the town, no more connections until you do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, whatever that might be. It's not there yet. And so, under law, whether this was the 40B or it was any other project that the zoning board or the planning board is seeing, as long as there's capacity there, then capacity cannot be denied. You can't pick and choose, we like this project, we don't like that project. As long as there's capacity, the capacity has to be made available kind of on a first come, first serve type of basis. So that's kind of the status of it right now.
Last question, I promise. So what happens if these people, as they're doing their construction work, turn up water they didn't anticipate? Because there is a lot of water around there. Do they have to straighten this out? Or will the obligation become the town's obligation or the property owner's obligation? Say water came down in my property and that sort of thing from all their
Would you like
the
Mr. Cordero?
caterpillars and all those.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I think,
Oh, Helene, would you want to answer, or Mr. Cordero can answer?
either Cordero or Mr. Schuba.
Well, I mean, the policy is you can't create more runoff than what's there now. So what they do, they provided a study, and I think the applicant engineers also indicated that his design is over-designed because they designed for larger impervious area, and they have to keep their runoff from the property at minimum to existing conditions or less, and I think they improved it, if I'm not mistaken. So there'll be the result of the development will not increase any runoff or will not cause any flooding to adjacent properties or to the wetlands. So you're not going to have any issues.
Now,
And
with all
also, this
those-
was designed by professional engineers,
Yeah.
and also it was reviewed by the town peer review, who is an independent engineer also, a professional engineer, that looked at the design, and they both agreed on, yes, this is what's there, so. And this is the normal practice with everything, whether it's a 40B or a private development or.
So if they run into surprises,
What do you mean surprises?
water coming up, I mean, construction is construction.
Yeah.
They plan and they do the best they can, but there are surprises.
They do testing before, so I'm sure they have all the tests. They test for groundwater elevation, they test for infiltration rates, and it's all required by the state before they do any design.
But do they cover, like, this is a big piece of property, and there are a lot of places that are dry on it, but there are a lot that aren't dry on it. So when they do their study, does that cover all the bases there?
They do,
It does?
yes.
Well, that
Well, the
gives
other
me
thing
some.
is, they're only utilizing the area of it that's the least wet portion of it. It's the portion up front. All of it towards the back, it's gonna be intact. At one point, they were gonna build a roadway to go access along the southern portion of the property. They were gonna build a roadway to access a billboard. They're taking the billboard off the table. So they don't need to build that roadway any further, or any longer. There's no need for it.
In addition, they will be going to the Conservation Commission.
Yes, that's true. So there's another town agency that they need to go to.
Oh,
40B
Conservation
does not
Commission.
allow us to make that determination. They gotta go before the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, under the state wetlands. Yep.
Yes.
Has this project been reviewed by the Conservation Commission?
I don't believe so.
No, that would come after.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wanna come up?
Good evening, Daniel Roderick, 17 Eisenhower Street. Just to follow up on Mrs. Lopes was talking about, right? I know you said they've done studies to see how much water was there and to figure out their design, but my understanding is the delineation that they used was like 12 years old. So can you explain to me how a study from 12 years would be relevant now?
Well, let me just say this. First of all, if they encounter a problem, there's gonna be supervision over this. Most of this stuff is reviewed by an engineer. That's controlled construction, is it not? So if there's a concern that comes up, that's gonna have to be addressed. And there's gonna be an engineer that's gonna be watching the project.
Mr. Chair, I think he's referring to the wetland delineation. I think they redelineated the
Well,
wetlands
but
recently, and
that's to their detriment. If they did it and they relied on it and it's less, if it's a lot smaller, then they may not be, they might have to come back before us and maybe they're gonna be fewer units. I don't know. But if they did that and they relied on it, that's to their detriment.
So is that the path? If the board
Well, that's something you
approves
need to
it,
address with conservation when next time they have a hearing before Concom as to when's the last time the delineation was done and if it's an accurate delineation.
so if it wasn't accurate and it had to change the scope of the design, that would have to come back to the ZBA for approval to change scope?
It depends if it's, there's
no.
a test to that, right?
Right,
It's
well-
the substantial, what's it called?
Whether it's an insubstantial change or not, but a change like that might say, oh, we have to shift the building over, or we need, anything that's gonna change what is shown on the plans as might be approved by the board, may be approved by the board, comes back. Now, they can come and say, we think this is insubstantial. They come to the board decides, is it substantial? If it's insubstantial, then the board can let them just proceed. If the board deems it to be substantial, maybe you say, oh, no, now we need our peer reviewer to look at the stormwater or whatever else, then there would be a public hearing,
Okay.
an advertised public hearing, and those would be discussed. So they can't just because so I'll just use Sherbrooke because the board just approved it. If Sherbrooke gets out there and finds big issues and they have to start moving buildings and parking around, they can't just do it because they have an approval. They would have to come back to the board and say, this is what we found, these are the issues, this is how we want to move it around, we think it's insubstantial, we think it's substantial, whatever it is. But that's, changes to these types of projects, to the site plan layout, those types of things, are going to end up coming back to the board in some form or another.
Okay.
Would the public be involved in those board hearings?
If the insubstantial change is not a public hearing, it's just a public meeting to make the determination if it's a substantial or not. So that one is obviously all has to be open meeting law, posted on an agenda. There's not a notification to abutters required under the law unless it's deemed a substantial change. And then a public hearing, and you would all get notice as you did for this original hearing,
And we had one not too long ago for the preserve.
for the preserve.
But that
right?
one dealt with a disagreement or a misunderstanding or inability to coincide some fee allocations and whether or not we used whatever the fees were at the time of the granting of the permit or the current fee rates at the time.
Right, there was, yeah, we're just trying to sort out which
And I
fee
think we
schedule.
found, they sorted it out, and
Yep.
eventually, we didn't even have to decide on it, did we?
No, because the town and the applicant sorted it out, so.
Good.
Mr. Chair, also, they have to file with conservation, and they have to file a notice of intent, which the abutters would be notified by certified mail. So you'll be notified for the conservation hearing, and then you have an opportunity to go to that hearing, and whatever concern you had about the wetland delineation, that would be taken care of, so.
I guess other questions I have is, based on the changes they proposed tonight, if any changes are being made to the retention pond that sits directly by my house, and I'm concerned, and I'd like to ask the board to put conditions in for that pond.
We're going to ask the engineer right now.
Okay. And I guess it's my last statement I just want to make is when we started these hearings back in January, Mr. Chair, you gave a statement, described the 40B process, and you guys defined how you had a very hard job to do. You had to apply a strict balancing test, right, to weigh the need for regional housing against the public safety and health risks. So back then when we started this progress, right, Dartmouth was already at 8% on the SHI list, right? They've added 256 units to the preserve. They've added 37 units they'll count for the Hawthorne, 156 units for Sherbrooke. I just asked the board to really check the calibration of the scale that they use when they weigh the need for housing and the risk to public safety. Dartmouth's in a drought right now, right? We don't have enough water. There are wells that are offline. We're buying water from New Bedford. What happens if New Bedford faces a drought and they can't provide Dartmouth any water? I think we kind of just throw in more gas on the fire. We already have a problem, and I think adding more units to the town isn't going to fix that. So I just really asked the board to hold the line for Dartmouth and for the Eisenhower Street neighborhoods. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to note, under the statute and the regulations for 40B, and particularly if anything ended up on appeal, the standard is the clock freezes on the day they filed the application. So the town could have added 600 units in the last 7 months. It doesn't matter. It's what the state of the town's housing inventory was on the date that application got stamped and filed at town hall.
We were at 7.1 or 7.8%.
So it,
So
you
they're
know.
protected in that extent.
They are protected. So, you know, I understand, you know, what Mr. Rodriguez is, the logic to it, but it's been made in other communities, and the law is pretty settled on that point.
Anyone else like to come on up?
Good evening. My name is Edward Pacheco, 188 Hicksville Road. I wanted to start out by first acknowledging appreciation for the work that the parties have tried to do since the last session. And I would acknowledge the cosmetic changes that have been proposed. There was a lot of them to digest tonight, and I think a lot of people here are still kind of trying to wrap their heads around what it actually means in terms of impact to themselves or the development itself. I do have a couple of questions, though, and I'll kind of roll them out, and you can either answer them as you go or lump them together, whatever the pleasure of the board is. So my first question is, this may be something that was covered in a previous session. Was there any protections offered to the residents regarding the foundations on their property? Meaning, will there be a prior to or post-construction inspection offered so that if any damage to the foundations occurs during the construction of these buildings, would the developer cover those costs? Are there any petitions requesting any type of lawn sprinkler systems in this project? As the previous speaker indicated, we are in a significant drought. We have been for several years. We spent $2 million on water from the town of Bedford last year. This year, we're set to purchase $3 million worth of water. And I think that worrying about if your grass is pretty is the least of our worries as a community, particularly since our water rates have gone up twice in the past year. So that is something I would oppose vehemently if that was something that was on the block. To council's perspective earlier regarding the sewer system condition discussions. So I also have had conversations with Mr. Barber regarding capacity of the sewer system as it is. And the magic number that we're looking at is about 80%. Once you hit 80%, the state can come in and offer a moratorium on your wastewater system. And what the moratorium says is that without additional conditions, repairs, upgrades, which can run into the millions of dollars, there is no additional tie-ins to that wastewater system. That includes existing properties that are in the town of Dartmouth now that have paid betterment fees but just have not been able to tie in to the existing wastewater system. So even though they may already have been constructed and maybe they were on wells, they would be precluded from being able to tie into the wastewater system if the capacity is reached once all of these advanced projects are done. So my caution to everyone here, if you're on a well system and you're thinking about getting tied into the system, or if you happen to be watching at home, is it's probably something you should do sooner than later if your finances allow for it, because we are extremely close. And I don't think Mr. Barber takes that term lightly. We are very close, once these projects settle, to being at or over capacity. And then, short of that, I think 20 units coming off the top is a great step forward. Many people sitting in this room today, particularly the abutters, they were hoping for something a little bit more. And again, I appreciate the work that's been done by both sides of the party. It's certainly not as glib as it was the last meeting. Obviously, traffic is still a significant concern. I'm not sure a $30,000 assessment to help with, quote, traffic is going to do much of anything for that area, but I suppose it's a step in the right direction. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it falls on you to make sure that if this is getting approved, that we are conditioned to the max on what's reasonable to ultimately protect the people that are in this room, the abutters, and then the overall residents of Dartmouth. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I guess the question,
Most of this has already been addressed. We've
Yeah,
addressed this in numerous meetings. The foundation issue.
yeah, is there any blasting that's contemplated in conjunction? So typically, the surveys of foundations would be required if blasting was part of the project, and that's a state law, but there's no, they're indicating no blasting. I am again going to play Mr. Barber for tonight. And just for a minute, that my understanding on the sprinkler systems is water, how much water is going to be used on the site. That's all going into kind of the calculations as part of Stantec's review, is that they have to indicate how much water they're going to use on the site, not just for the residents living in the units, but in the, if they have a.
But when we say sprinklers, you mean an irrigation system?
Irrigation system, I think,
We could
is what
basically
Mr.
say that they
Pacheco.
want to have an irrigation system. We did that. Did we not do that on Hawthorne?
The language that ended up in Hawthorne was that the issue in Hawthorne was different. They had a water pressure issue. And so the more water they used for other things other than the homes was going to potentially adversely affect the ability to fight firefighting and water pressure, both in the homes and for hydrants, et cetera. So the issue on the sprinkler system, does go though into the calculation. So I don't know if there's any of the numbers or the figures, the preliminary figures that have been provided included, water for the amenities in the building, kind of, they have the amenity space, yeah, thank you, Mr. Calhoun, et cetera. But it does all go into the analysis that Stantec does.
Mr. Chair, if you recall, the question was raised probably almost 4 or 5 months ago, and we advised the board that we were going to be doing an irrigation well on the site for our landscaping, and that would be a condition that would go into our permit.
Okay, I'll just note for the applicants, because this came up in Sherbrooke as well, they also are going to do irrigation well. And so there are some Board of Health regulations with regard to wells that apply if they're irrigation wells or potable wells. And those are addressed in the Sherbrooke decision, which will be public, and we can provide you with a copy. But you'll see there's some conditions and waivers that address the irrigation well for the Sherbrooke that would likely be the same for any project, including this one if it moves forward. So, okay.
Is there anyone else that'd like to come forward and speak either in opposition? Come on up.
This is what the gentleman from Hicksville Road was referring to about the wastewater treatment.
Okay. Please state your name. address.
Jean Riccardi, 901 Hathaway Road, New Bedford. I haven't been to many of these meetings, but I'm just wondering if a traffic study has been done and what the results of that were. And I'm sorry if I'm late to the party.
Yeah, we've had a lot of traffic. We're months beyond traffic, but it's just that there's already a problem that exists, and maybe someone else can explain this better than me, but we have a problem. It's abundantly clear that Route 6 and Hathaway Road has an issue, that Slocum Road and Route 6 has an issue. Also, on the New Bedford side of things, 140 and Hathaway Road, there's issues there as well. And we all know that this is going to contribute to some level of additional traffic to these sensitive points, the sensitive intersections. The thing is it's not a basis for us to deny the project. We can't just outright deny the project because they're increasing traffic. We can ask for concessions. However, the problems that are there are quite significant. There's been a plan to redo the intersection of Route 6 and Hathaway Road for quite some time. And I don't know, I've been on this board for 12 years, and I was told that something was supposed to happen in 2025.
Yeah, I heard that
We're
too.
in 2026, and now I'm told it's going to be 2027.
To cut behind like Burger King and eliminate that corner at Tucker
That's
Road.
not even the improvement that's coming in 2027. It's a much less significant improvement, from what I understand. So we've weighed all of this out, and there's a balancing test, unfortunately, that we need to make here. It's not perfect. I'm not saying that our application to this is perfect. We're just trying to do the best we can with the knowledge that we have. The only thing that looms over us is that, and I hate to have this conversation in front of the petitioners, because they already know, what cards they can play, right? They know what cards they can play. And if you're really following what's going on at state level government, the granting of a variance has changed, effective July 9th of this year. The governor signed into law that we now have a lesser standard to grant a variance. I'm not certain exactly what that standard is. I still have to learn it. But we have a lesser standard than we've had, I don't know, for decades now. Maybe for 50
1970.
Since 1970, all right?
Meaning that more variances would be granted because the bar is lowered?
Perfect.
Exactly.
Perfectly stated.
And why is that?
Why is that?
Because we need housing.
Because
you can't afford
the
to live in
powers
this
that
area.
be at the state level believe, and I think the mandate was, the governor wants to see 222,000 additional units created by 2035. So our bylaws our bylaws as a town to protect the community that we have, the community that I was born in, raised in, and raising children in, and hopefully grandchildren someday, is changing. And the bylaws that we have are being, in essence, emasculated. And these gentlemen here, right, these gentlemen here, they know what the rules are, and they're playing with the rules. They're playing within the rules.
So basically, the fact that the town infrastructure, traffic, schools, sewer and water can't really support this project doesn't matter because it's coming down from the state. And the more that they lower the bar on what you can build on in town, and I am also born and raised in Dartmouth, and I remember when you couldn't build on anything smaller than an acre. So the more they change those, now you can build on, 5,000 square feet. And so the more residents they pack into the town, the more we can't meet the 10% of affordable housing because they keep increasing the population. So are we ever going to get there?
You ought to be the spokesperson. You ought to run for office. man.
Anyway, thank you for the work that you're doing as a board, and I appreciate everything
Thank you.
and the opportunity to speak.
No, but you understand it very well. You understand it very well.
Unfortunately, all too well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so,
So where we are, is there's some modification.
but before we do
Yeah.
that, I just want to get a sense from these gentlemen. So, they presented this. Do you think you need more time to review it? Is it something that we want to hash out, or do we think it's pretty clear as to, the impacts are going to be slightly less? Would I have liked a better number than 280? Absolutely. Did I fail us as a negotiator? Maybe, okay? Maybe I did. Maybe that's on me. I tried. My number wasn't definitely 280, it was a lot less, all right, that I had in mind, that I wanted to sort of, instill upon the gentleman. This is what they came back with. I'm not happy, but I don't think anything that they're gonna do is gonna make me happy. Short of them, taking their marbles and going home back to north of Boston and go do this somewhere else, that would make me happy. That would make me very happy, but it's not realistic. So, I want to listen to you guys.
In terms of the plans, I don't think, you said it, I mean, this is a scale down from what they submitted before, so we know it's a better plan than what they submitted. It's not the ultimate that we were looking for. I don't need time to digest this, we already know it's improved over what they showed before. It's lesser units, more parking and less impervious areas and more buffer for the neighbors, and, those are the things that we discussed before. Unfortunately, yeah, I would love to see those B, D, and F gone, but, this is not gonna happen, with, I don't think we need, and I don't think we need more time. It's,
Attorney Faria? Okay. Susan, you were going to say something. Oh, I've already heard from you, right? Or do you want to say
You
something?
haven't heard from me.
No.
Sorry, I apologize.
But I'm familiar with the case law and the situation that every town finds itself in. And I think they have had them make substantial concessions that weren't before us until today. So I don't think any more time is really necessary.
So let's just talk about then logistically where we are. What goes along with this, as you know, is the waiver list. There were some discussions, like, for example, they're removing a request for a couple of waivers, as Attorney Donahue cited in his list. But the waiver list needs to be updated now, because the waiver list, in some respects, not all the waivers, but in some respects was specific to the prior site plan. And so the way the waivers are requested in that plan, they need to be kind of re-reviewed or kind of updated and revised to reflect this plan. I'm assuming that the applicant was waiting for feedback from the board before kind of a lot of all of that additional work that would be required to kind of get this to that position, you know, so they haven't been submitted the updated waivers yet, at least on the portal. None of this has been, all of this is submitted as of tonight when they handed it to you.
In order for them to submit a request for waivers, does the public hearings portion of the meeting need to remain open?
The waivers should come in before, if you close them. I don't know if you have the proposed revised waivers to hand in to submit, so that if they close the hearing, then you can't submit a new waiver list. So the question is, if they have the new waiver list ready to submit to you tonight, then it's on the record. Then it's going to be a matter of, then all the information's in the record that the board has to review. When you have another session that's just deliberation, then there can be conversation about what's already been submitted, but not about anything new. They wouldn't be able to add any new waivers
We
after
did that
that.
with the Hawthorne. We actually had counsel come forward, just
Yes,
for
during the
just for
deliberation.
clarification
Yes.
purposes and drafting the language to ensure that there were no ambiguities. We did have interaction, but there was no new testimony.
There
that
was no new
taken,
testimony.
No new evidence that was submitted.
Right.
Oh, come on up. I don't know, were you done? I'm sorry. With regard to the waivers and.
Yeah,
I guess
with
you were
regard-
cautioning us- You were cautioning us
Well,
about not asking for an additional time.
No, I'm not cautioning to ask or not ask. I'm saying if the board closes tonight, it's both for the board and the applicant, obviously. Now, I don't represent them, but and for the public as well. Once the hearing closes, nothing new is coming in from the applicant, nothing new is coming in from abutters, nothing new is coming in from town staff. It's whatever we have, we have. So that's.
No, but historically, we have gone over every line of waiver with the members of the town, the board members of the.
We did too.
To review each one of them.
The board has not done this on this application because at a prior hearing, so the last meeting was just a continuance, which I appreciated. But the prior hearing, it was kind of on the list to try to get to, but I think a lot of focus ended up being on where are we, is this enough, setting up and the board never actually got to the step of walking through the waivers.
You're right, we were scheduled to do that.
Yeah.
You were scheduled to do that. Now, you know, the prior list, so the prior waiver list, prior to that meeting, so that was early June, I had a meeting with Mr. Barber and Mr. Giosa and walked through all the waivers to understand what they were. I think we had mentioned briefly at that prior hearing, so this is 2 ago in June, that, for example, there's a waiver, there's the official waiver list, and then there's a list of waivers that are listed on the landscape plan that are different in some ways. Some are the same, some are different, there's some on the landscape plan that aren't on the official list, and so that was something that was going to have to get reconciled, and it would be better to have none of the waivers listed on the landscape plan and have them all in the chart. But so there was a little touching on things that needed to be cleaned up, and I do have notes from all the staff, but they haven't been submitted to the board yet because we were going to do that at a hearing. I have it with me, but it's a little rough, but if we have to get them on the record tonight, then I would give them to Michelle, and we'd get them on the record tonight, but they're just kind of they're notes that I kind of typed in PDF on the side, and
I don't think there's a
so,
reason to rush it. And
yeah,
And then
so-
the quality of what we're putting forth is just going to be compromised just because of a meeting. But anyway, I think he wanted to say something, so maybe he can give us something that's gonna cut
Right.
to the chase.
The one other thing, that, Attorney Donahue, if you don't mind, just from a scheduling standpoint, I understand, because I tried to pre-schedule and understand the schedule with Michelle, is, my understanding is the board's availability is that there is a hearing date available in 2 weeks on August 27th, and then the next one would be September 17th. So those are the two upcoming dates that are available. Whether they are an extension or they're just deliberation, those would be the available dates. So I just wanted the timing to be available for you and the applicant to be aware as well. Okay, sorry. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to put in context the, kind of the issue, and then whatever the will of the board is, we're fine with. The original waiver list was 22 separate waivers with regard to the bylaw. Based upon what we've submitted this evening, there's language changes, and I have drafted language for that purpose, as to 3 of them. One is the height, because before it was obviously a bigger building, so now the request is less, but it's still it's greater than 35 feet on the rear platform. The second is with regard to parking, to incorporate the numbers you heard from Mr. Cadero and eliminate the reserve parking. The third is as to signage, to eliminate the billboard, but make it clear that the monument sign you saw in Mr. Spook's presentation up front is part of the waiver. And then the last one is to strike the request for the waiver of the sewer and water fees, but it's deleted in its entirety. It's not hard to figure that out. So I have that language redlined against the set that we had submitted before that I can offer to the board if it's helpful. I think we agree that it's better to get it right than get it fast, because we're going to have to live with this permit for years. And what we don't want to do is have to keep on coming back to the board because it wasn't clear when we did it in August of 2026.
My preference would be that we get copies of the proposed waivers and that we have the department heads here to discuss those waivers to make sure that everybody's in agreement with how those waivers are set out.
Especially Steve
And
Joseph.
then at that point, we could close the hearing, the public hearing.
I see Steve.
You said Steve, but you meant Dan.
Steve's the father. What's his
Dan.
name?
Dan.
Dan, I knew that, Dan. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
So I mean, then that's the
what do we
question
have
of,
on for the
you would need a 2-week, that would be a 2-week extension to the 27th, August 27th.
So Donnie, is that something that your client's amenable to?
Could we have just a moment?
Oh, absolutely. You can step outside if you'd like.
Thank you.
With the understanding that we're going to be going over waivers.
Come back with 50 less units too. That offer that they put out was probably the last and best without conditions.
Yeah, I wanted to go tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. He didn't want to go tonight. That's right, that's when he wants to be up at 7. Lucky me, it's my project, and he tells me what to do. Mr. Donahue?
The request to be able to submit the revised waivers and to have the board have an opportunity to get feedback from town staff and make sure that they're comprehensive and right. We're willing to do that, and we're willing to continue for 2 weeks. We're at a couple of things embedded in that. One is that we would hope that we would see at least a draft decision to kind of move the process along, so we're not looking at 40 days after that in some fashion.
Yeah, the draft conditions would be made available prior to that, and not the day before. I would get,
And it's only 2 weeks.
That's only 2 weeks. Well, they've been in process, but since there was kind of this up in the air ever since the working session,
Okay.
I couldn't really kind of nail
It's
it
fair.
down,
I-
so.
You know, it's hard to draft when you don't know what the project is
Yeah,
and what the
but-
board's attitudes. I understand it, and the commitment by Attorney Murphy is more than enough. The second is, and I'm just going to be candid, the 2 weeks is not going to be a reopener for my brother to show up now with a whole bunch of new consultants and take 4 hours throwing mud against the wall. So if that's what, if the board has the ability in a public hearing, everyone's not entitled to speak. As long as we understand that we're not going to go back and revisit things we talked about in January, February, March, April, over and over again, we're willing to give you the time to get it right and work with you.
Thank you. Do you understand that, gentlemen?
Yes.
What's your feeling on that?
I have no problem with what Attorney Donahue just said.
Basically, we're going to be limiting what we're going to be taking in.
Yes, and as far as I'm concerned, we can limit it to the waivers.
The discussion.
The
So
discussion,
as
yeah.
long, so just for clarification, and I think Attorney Downey will agree with me on this piece of it. As long as the hearing's open, anyone can submit anything they want. It would all come into the record.
Yeah.
The board sets the agenda as to what you will discuss.
I understand that, and I understand his concern. I
So,
have the same
yeah.
concern. We've been listening to this for a long time, all right? A lot of it. And a lot of this has already come before us. Now, if any petitioner, if any neighbor here wants to, at their own peril, decide that they want to go spend money and hire an expert or whatever it is, and they want to submit it, we'll submit it. But I'm not going to be rehashing, and I agree, we're not going to rehash all of that. We've listened to this for quite some time.
And I'll note, so the board's aware of it, there is 40B case law that the board cannot use the applicant's peer review dollars to have your peer reviewer review and a butters experts. The peer reviewer can only be paid with the applicant's money to review the applicant's submissions, not third-party submissions. So anything the board comes in, of course, you read everything that comes in, because I've been with you for a year now, and I've seen you do that. So anything that comes in, you'll read, but you won't have the benefit of a third-party reviewer to be able to read whatever comes in.
But I don't
Yeah.
want to go down that path.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Okay.
I resent the notion that I'm a mudslinger, but I understand what my brother's trying to do here. I also have to build a record for the subsequent appeal as well. So if I have to put things in and then I go to Superior Court to get this sorted out, I have the right to build that record. And if the board wants to limit public comment, and I completely understand, but I think town council is being very wise here, because there's an immediate injunction tomorrow if we close things and allow these stipulations to go forth without further public comment, so.
Yeah, I don't think that the board was intending to say that people couldn't submit things. I think I was just clarifying so that everybody understood. So like there might have been a misunderstanding, like you said, by what was said. Nothing's being closed tonight. Submissions can come in. They're going to submit their updated waiver list. Submissions can come in. The board gets to choose what they wish to talk about at the next meeting. That's the board's choice, and the board can choose to have public comment or not have public comment. That's also the board's choice, which I will defer and allow the board to make that decision at that time.
Are we're understanding of what they're.
Yeah.
So they just wanted to set out, not necessarily ground rules, but to be an
No,
understanding that they would
I
agree to
understand.
continue it for 2 weeks, but with, we're not gonna be rehashing and opening up all of these topics that we've been discussing. And I'll be quite frank with you. I feel comfortable that we've already received a lot of information from all these experts. And in the end, I think the end result is, the town is not gonna be any better off with any part of this. It's not gonna be better off with the water consumption, it's not gonna be better off with the sewer impacts, it's not gonna be better off with the traffic impacts. None of this, I don't care who we get to tell us what the impacts are, none of this improves any of the conditions or situations that exist now. If anything, it only makes it worse. And I know that we don't have anyone specifically to tell us it's exactly to this degree, it's exactly this number of vehicles. I don't think the science is that exact. But certainly, I think you just take a layperson's approach to understanding of these sciences, that's the outcome. Anyway, enough on that. So.
I believe that Michelle has an extension
We're the,
form.
this will be the only case on for the 27th at 6 o'clock, correct? All right, that's good.
This will be the only case?
The only case at
So
6 o'clock on the 27th.
Unless you want to go earlier.
Unless you guys want to put it to 5. You guys want to do 5?
I think Susan.
No, no, no.
Let me just make sure I don't have anything beforehand. And I don't know if 5 works, because they obviously are driving as I am, also on the 27th. I mean, I can do 5 if the applicant can make 5 and is willing, but it's up to them. I mean,
We don't plan on bringing any professionals other than,
I'm not sure what that all means, but anyway.
Other than it.
Yeah, exactly.
doesn't count.
Of course, right. No professionals except. All right.
5 o'clock would be great. But it works for you.
5 o'clock.
Okay, 5 o'clock
Entertain a
it
motion.
is.
There's a, Michelle has an extension form there that she's filling in the blanks.
Obviously, a motion is conditioned on signing,
Edit.
executing the extent.
Oh, he's gonna
it's coming
sign
up
it
right
now.
now, so.
5 o'clock, zoning board.
Yeah, I can't make a motion.
No, I mean, he's already signed. Okay. I make a motion that we continue comprehensive permit ZCMP 25-3 to August 27th at 5 PM.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. All right, gentlemen, we have some other matters, some other administrative matters, but we're just gonna table those for another meeting.
Okay.
Something else we have to do?
No, I just need a signature. Michelle, can you give Mike the other form he has to sign?
Holy mackerel.
The signature, the decision signature page?
So you're here.
It's this, boom, boom. This right here is essentially the finalized petition.
That's the decision.
So, gentlemen, we're still in session. Is there any business?
No, I gotta go.
Excuse me, folks, we're still in session. All right, gentlemen, is there any other business, any old business, any new business to discuss?
No.
Attorney Faria? All right, I'll
Motion
entertain
to
a
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye, the ayes have it.